Okay, good day, and a good day. So we've gone through 4 videos talking about zones, trend lines, market structure, and even trend origins. So now we're going to do a real price study. Real price study is a study of the cyclical or repetitive nature of price in order to predict or infer or guess future price movements based on previous price movements. What does that mean? This is the easiest way to see what real price study is. Impulsive correction. Impulsive correction. Impulsive. What are you expecting next? A correction. After a correction, what are you expecting next? Yes, another impulsive. Now that you've seen another impulsive, what are you expecting next? A correction. Now that you've seen a correction, what are you expecting next? Another impulsive. Now that you've seen another impulsive, what are you expecting again? Another correction. Now that you've seen another correction, what are you expecting again? Another impulsive. Of course, it's not as though price will always be in an upward trend or a downward trend. But this is just a basic explanation of what I mean by repetitive nature of price. Price does A, then it does B. Price does A, then it does B. Price forms a W pattern, then price spikes. Price forms an M pattern, then price dips. Price forms a range and price breaks out of the range in a strong move. Price forms a range. Price does A, price does B. Price does A, price does B. So when we see price do A, we know to follow up with a B. So that's what we want to do right now. Let's go to the lower time frames. See if we can spot some market structure that we can use to infer a trade. Seeing impulsive, correctional, impulsive, correctional to the same level. Then we have a strong impulsive over the way here, followed by a correctional. To be expecting a new impulsive, right? I see a W pattern here. Let's zoom. Let's zoom in. So I see inverse head and shoulders pattern here. I see W pattern here. So this one doesn't really look like a W pattern. It doesn't quite fit the bill. But it actually is. Here is a W pattern. It's just not a very well formed W pattern, but it's still a W pattern. What's more, it contains a bullish and local candlestick pattern. Not to mention that this entire move is its own freaking W pattern. This is a W pattern all on its own. And we have a similar W pattern that has appeared right here. In fact, you can call it a W pattern, or you can call it an inverse head and shoulders pattern. I think this fits more as an inverse head and shoulders pattern. But an inverse head and shoulders pattern here, this one is much smaller. This one is more like a trend. It's too small to use. We have a W pattern there, and then here we have an inverse head and shoulders pattern. To be fully honest, I am 100% expecting price to go long at this point. But what I'm wondering is how I am going to reduce my risk so that I can enter at the optimal time and risk the least amount to get the maximum reward. And I think that time is actually right now. Look at this. A W pattern followed up by preceded by a range. That means I can shrink my risk to somewhere around here. Then I can take my target all the way up to here. So that's it. Nice trade on EURUSD.